good growth prospects for Nigeria. What are the opportunities? What are the risks?
The opportunities with such growth and such potential for change are huge. And the best way to think of it is to look back to Brazil 15, 12 years ago. And I can say this because I was investing there then. And when you talked about Brazil back then, they had high inflation, they had a government-owned oil industry, they had a government-owned does any of this sound familiar?
Yeah.
It's just like Nigeria. And you'd talk to people and they say, I'm not going to invest there. They're corrupt. They're state-owned. And now find somebody who doesn't have Brazil. And they drove their growth. That led, along with change, led to great things. Nigeria can follow the same path.
Talk to us about where you see the hidden gems in Nigeria. We're seeing deregulation of the oil industry. We're also seeing privatization of energy assets. So it's inevitable that money will flow into those sectors. But where else?
Those are really the sectors that are going to be the leaders because they're the ones that will be the biggest beneficiaries of the upcoming legislations. But the biggest opportunity in Nigeria, I have to say, are the people that I'm meeting, the managers I'm meeting. These are Western educated managers who see great opportunity here. Look at the oil, what's going to happen in the oil business with Shell selling their assets. This is going to go to local companies, and these local companies are staffed by very, very well-trained managers. That's the opportunity.
What do you make of the so-called banking reforms, which now are leading to banking consolidation? We're seeing private equity firms bidding for some of the rescued banks, and, you know, AMCON coming in to try to sort out some of the debts within the sector. The prospects for banking in Nigeria, which effectively constitute the largest component of the stock exchange here.
Absolutely, and the banking prospects are fantastic, once again, if they're catalyzed. And if you bring in new investors for the somewhat failed banks, if you bring in private equity investors, you're going to raise the bar. You're going to raise the bar for all these banks that are sitting on loan-to-deposit ratios of 60, 70%, big net interest margins. They're not lending. And I understand why not. They still want to see AMCON come through. Elections are coming up. But Nigeria is poised for a lending boom, and it would be catalyzed by fresh blood coming into the market.
I mean, when I look around me in Nigeria, I see huge opportunity for infrastructure investment. We know that there's a deficit in that space, and also for real estate investments. It's happening in pockets like Abuja, like Lagos. But is there sufficient dynamism? Can property outperform the market, for instance?
Well, I don't think it can really outperform the market because the real driver of property is the hospitality industry. There are 1,000 rooms from luxury hotel makers, providers ready to come on. So it's really the construction companies, the aggregate companies, the cement companies that are going to be benefiting from that. I don't even know if there are any real estate investment trusts in Nigeria.
Okay, let's talk about evaluating risks and opportunities as you've referred to them. The concern is that FDI has declined by about 60% in Nigeria, 70% in South Africa. So it's a function of the recession. But there are other factors. What are those factors as people consider bringing their funds to a market like Nigeria?
Well, I think overall there is still a risk-averse attitude in the world, but that's too easy of an answer. It gets back to the potential for the regulatory change. Investors will only invest when they have some certainty about the future. We haven't passed the petroleum investment bill yet. We haven't done the power grid yet. Once we do the power plan, the enabling program, and the PIB, the FDI is going to fly into the country.